Well, welcome to the Good Talk Podcast, where we remind you of the joy of life, the love of God, and the possibilities that lie ahead. Pete and Jordyn here with episode 62.
Good for them. Good for you.
It sounded like you were saying good for them, like good for us.
No, good for them. You know what song I keep singing in my head? That good for you, you look happy and healthy, not me.
Oh, is that what it says? You look happy and healthy?
I think.
I thought it said you look happy as hell.
I think it's happy and healthy.
Oh, that's great. That's much
Good for
better.
you, it's happy. You look happy and healthy, not me.
Because I always thought happy as hell. I was like, that's just a weird. Why would you need to know something about me?
She's sarcastic, obviously.
You guys need to know something about me. I notoriously get lyrics to songs wrong, don't I?
I just looked it up. It is definitely you look happy and healthy.
Oh, great.
Me.
Who is that? Who sings that?
Olivia Rodrigo or Rodriguez? I
Don't
think?
know her.
Oh my gosh. No, you don't know her personally.
But don't I get lyrics wrong all the time?
Words in general. Words in general, which is really amazing because you're a phenomenal communicator, and it is your full-time job for the most part is communicating. Yet there is a large handful of words that you just pronounce incorrectly. And sometimes it's not just pronunciations. Like you are adding letters, subtracting letters, just using the wrong word entirely. So, yeah.
And I make
Good
up
job.
my own lyrics all the time.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm glad she says that we're happy and healthy.
Yeah, me too.
So the title is called Good for Them.
Right.
Episode
good for
62.
them.
Good
Yeah,
for them.
Good for them, which I'm guessing we're like learning about celebrating people.
We'll see.
Maybe.
Good
I
for
would
you.
know because we haven't actually talked about this podcast. So I am just in the same boat as you are, guys.
It's going to be great. I'm looking. No, I am. This is a principle. I've wanted to talk about. I've had a note jotted down to do a podcast on this for at least 2 months, maybe 3 months. And it's something that I feel like I'm really growing in. And I feel like if you can grasp onto what we're going to talk about today as a concept, it can revolutionize all of your relationships.
Yeah, it's good. I'm excited. Good for you. And good for them. This weekend was fun.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Gage's 18th birthday.
Yeah, that was
Technically,
fun.
it was like the end of last week. But
Yeah.
so Pete's 3 boys are all having like really, really big birthdays. this year.
Huge. And all within
Huge.
2 weeks.
Yes.
So all 3 boys were born within 2 weeks. And my oldest is turning 21. My middle son Gage just turned 18 last week. And Brewer is turning 16. So 21, 18.
Those are like the
and
most
16.
epic birthdays you
And
have.
all 3 of them in
Ever.
2 weeks. So
Yeah.
it's really exciting and crazy. I love it.
Yeah, it was really fun. Gage, we had balloons all in the house. You took him to breakfast. I couldn't go because of Pepper, but and then we had like a big family party on Friday night and had cake and steak and all the yummy things.
Yeah,
so that was
good
fun.
steak. That steak was delicious.
Do you remember turning 18?
I do.
What did you do?
I had a pool party.
Did you have a pool
No,
or you would like
no.
just to?
A friend of mine, her name was Casey, threw me a party at her house. She had a pool.
That's cool.
Yep, we all went there.
I don't really remember my 18th birthday.
That's a big one. I don't remember many of my birthdays, but I remember that one. It
Yeah,
was fun.
I mean that's a big one. And then yesterday, you did something for the first
oh
time.
my
that
gosh!
you've
Okay,
never
can I
done.
set this up?
Sure.
I am feeling really old. Really old. Not just because I have a soon-to-be 21-year-old, 18-year-old, and 16-year-old.
Yeah,
I am
that's
feeling
definitely-
really old because last night I entered into a whole new season of life.
That's dramatic, but yes, continue.
I played pickleball for the first time.
Yeah, I did not.
You did not. So in case you don't know, pickleball is like, I think it's like spreading like wildfire
it's
across the
sweeping
country.
over the
Sweeping. That's
whole
what I was looking for. It's sweeping across the country right now.
country.
It is like it's what happens when you get too old to play tennis is what it is. And you don't want to run quite as much and you don't feel like taking 16 ibuprofen before you go out to do a sport.
So it's like a smaller court.
It's a smaller court. It is a mixture in my mind of ping pong and tennis. And it tends to be known as a game that older people play. Plenty of younger people, including myself, play it. But primarily older people, because you don't have to move as much. It doesn't require as much physical energy.
Yeah. Well, we've heard about it for a while. We've
have.
had friends invite us to do it. And then finally last night, some friends in the neighborhood invited you and you're like, I'm going to go do it. And you were like buzzing with excitement.
I had so much fun. I have an uncle, my uncle and aunt, they travel the country doing pickleball tournaments every weekend.
Wow.
That
is.
It's a big thing. And I don't know, Jordan, and I hate to say this out loud on this because some people are going to call me out on it. I think I'm really good at it. I've only played once, but I saw the potential. Is it an Olympic sport? If it is, I think I could make it. I could make it to the Olympics. If badminton is an Olympic sport, then pickleball will definitely soon be an Olympic sport. I promise you.
Well, I look forward to your competitions, and I will be there with bells on, and
You're gonna play.
I will also have the ambulance on standby for your old self, too, just in case you just conk out.
No, I didn't think I was getting a lot of exercise, but as you know, I've been complaining all day.
All day.
My left butt
All
cheek
day.
is on fire.
Yeah. You're going in deep for those balls.
I guess so. And I'm hurting.
Oh my gosh, how funny. Okay, well, I'm glad you lived your best old life.
I'll keep you guys updated on it too, because I'm
sure
forming a team. I'm gonna get a uniform. I'm
really need those updates in their life to be fulfilled.
Yeah, well, it was freaking awesome. I had a blast.
All right, well, good for you. Good for them.
Good.
Let's
for
talk about
them.
good for them.
You want to hear about this? All right, can I set
do.
up what? So let me. I told you I had a note from like 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So, I was scrolling through Instagram one day through stories, and there's a girl I follow. I've known her for quite a while, and she sings country music. Mm-hmm. She had just released. I honestly don't know all the details of this, but she had just released a country music video that had hit #1 on some country music video chart. Have no idea if it was CMT or what it was, but she had hit #1, and I remember thinking, that's awesome, good for her. Well, I think it was the next day she put up something on her stories. No, it wasn't dramatic, but she was just saying essentially how sad it was to her that the vast majority of her close friends didn't reach out to her about the fact that she had hit that. And she was essentially saying, she was speaking of the music industry, which over the years growing up here in Nashville, I've had a lot of friends in the music industry, and I've heard this from a lot of them that, I mean, it's like a lot of other industries. It's incredibly competitive.
Right.
So while there are some people who are very encouraging of one another's, it's also like if you have insecurity or maybe you're not having the success that you'd like to have, when you see somebody doing well in that industry, I could see where it's kind of tough. You kind of feel bad, it's like, good for them. But you don't, you say that sarcastically,
Right.
more often than sincere. So when that happened, I actually reached out to her. I was like, hey, can I interview you on the podcast about this? Because I think this is a really important topic. And she said, yes. We just haven't been able to work out the details. But so I felt like I had to dive into this even before I had a chance to interview her about this. Because I think this is a big, big issue. And I hear this from time to time from people who will, in one way or another, say something to me where they're essentially asking a question of, what do I do when I have a community of friends that I don't feel like celebrate when I have an accomplishment in my life? Like, instead it feels like jealousy. And that's a major, major issue, because I don't actually think your true friends should have an issue with celebrating you when something happens in your life.
100%. Have you ever had a friend like that?
That couldn't?
Yeah, that couldn't celebrate you.
I have had friends that couldn't do that.
Me too.
And looking back now, though, I doubt the validity of that friendship, honestly.
Well, I mean, I have had one, and we were friends in college. I've talked about her on the podcast before, not by name, of course, but it was toxic because of her jealousy and her inability to like celebrate not just me, but other people in her life. And when you say like, we're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
So to validate your point, like it's just I don't think you can really be true friends and have that.
I think that separates acquaintances and true friends. Yeah. If somebody cannot celebrate you and the wins that you have in your life, I immediately put them in a separate category. They're not necessarily a bad person,
sure,
but they're not someone that I'm leaning into for deep friendship.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I just thought, and some people will listen to this and be like, oh, well, poor her. She had a #1 country music video. But it's not about the accomplishment, because accomplishment alone, as we all know, if you've ever accomplished anything. Accomplishment alone doesn't necessarily satisfy all your needs, because you were created and wired for connection and for love. And so even when you accomplish something, which does satisfy a part of you and a part of your purpose, if it doesn't also lead to connection and love, then there's an emptiness that you feel there. And so, I do feel bad for her that it played out in the way that it did. And I've felt that pain before. I'm sure, unfortunately, some others around me have felt that pain, maybe when I didn't celebrate them when I should. But I just think that this is a really important topic. And Brene Brown has talked quite a bit about this, and she has a great illustration that you and I have kind of batted around before, where she talks about, this is a principle her and her husband taught their kids, where they said early on to their kids growing up, good friends aren't afraid of your light.
Yep.
I love that. Good friends are not afraid of your light. They never blow out your flame, and you don't blow out theirs. And even when it's really bright and it makes you worry about your own flame, you don't blow their flame out.
Right.
You don't. And so, when something good happens to you, your friends should celebrate your flame. And when something good happens to them, you should celebrate their flame.
Yeah.
I think it's a great definition of friendship.
It's a good visual. It's
Yeah.
really easy to remember that practice because of that visual. I really like, and for kids especially, I love that.
Yeah, and they would go on, they said, to illustrate, they'd have their kids hold out their hands, like their palm flat and open, and they'd say, if this is your flame and the wind picks up, good friends cup their hands around your flame to prevent it from going out. And you do the same for them.
Yeah, that's good.
I love that. I mean, that takes it even a step further.
Yeah,
it's
protecting it.
Yeah, I'm going to protect. When my friend accomplishes something, gets a win, whether it's a relational win, a financial win, a career win, a spiritual win, whatever the win is, I want to cup my hands around their flame and protect it so that nobody can blow that flame out.
I also see that illustration as being like the flame is you as a person. And so like if, the wind blowing is like a metaphor for like troubling times, that friend is there cupping their hands around your flame to remind you who you are.
Yeah.
It's not just in my mind accomplishment based,
That's
but
right.
just like who you are as a person. You are the light. If people are constantly blowing out your flame of who you are, then that's an insecurity on their part, right? But I like the idea that kind of being more like based around you as a person and your value.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, the term that they used with their kids was no flame blower outers.
No flame blower outers.
No flame blower outers. And hey, that's a great theme. And I'd say that to everyone listening to this podcast right now. No flame blower outers in your life.
Yeah.
Like, who's got time for that? You need people around you that can celebrate the flame, celebrate your unique God giftedness and the things that you're accomplishing and doing, no matter how small or large, and just get behind that. And so to make this as practical as possible, because I think sometimes people even have a hard time saying, what does that even mean to celebrate when somebody wins? Like, what do I do? Do I just say like, good job? Do I send them a card? And I think sometimes women can be a little more naturally wired to do this. Like I've noticed a lot of your friends, even when you have a tough day, they might, bring over some flowers or chocolate or something like that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it can be as simple as when somebody tells you about something they've accomplished. Let's say they got a promotion at work. At the very least, you should show interest and ask questions.
Right.
Like that's the first. Just show interest and ask questions about what it is, because maybe they express a win to you, and honestly, you're thinking inside your head, why is that such a big deal? Like, but show interest, ask questions, let them tell you why this is a big deal to them. So I love that idea of doing that. And then, do you remember the word mudita?
I feel like we've talked about it before.
Yeah, so we did just a little bit on a podcast a long time ago, but it's a really interesting word. It's a Tibetan way of expressing what they call sympathetic joy.
That's right. Yep.
We don't even have a word in our English language that really expresses this, but
Right.
the idea is expressing sympathetic joy for others when they achieve something great or they attain something desirable, even if you haven't experienced that specific blessing for yourself. So again, that easier said than done in a hyper-competitive, semi-disconnected, like modern world that we live in.
Right.
And again, like there's no equivalent to that word in our Western languages. But interestingly, the opposite exists in a German word called Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to just go with that.
Which means the enjoyment obtained from the troubles of others.
Oof.
So we have the opposite word for it, but we in our Western language don't even have this mudita word expressing sympathetic joy, where it's enjoyment obtained by the success of somebody else. So you, again, in our culture, it's not a normal thing.
Yeah.
And this Tibetan word, in Buddhism at least, they believe that this is the antidote to envy, which I think is really interesting because it's a mentality that understands that blessings for one person are actually blessings for all, because the happiness of one person betters everyone around them. What a beautiful way to look at the success of the people around you, that when they succeed, you succeed.
Yeah.
When they're happy, you actually get to share in that happiness, even though you didn't, experience what they experienced.
Yeah, that's so true.
The closest thing I can think of is a very minimal way of expressing mudita in my life would be, Jordan, when someone goes on vacation.
Yes,
do this. I get so excited
all the time.
I vicariously feel like I'm going on vacation. Like when they're excited the day before they leave, I meet them in their excitement. I'm like, this is so awesome. And so that's what mudita is. It's just being able to celebrate and share in the happiness and joy of somebody else's success, even if you're not actually experiencing it.
Yeah, it's really good.
But what a beautiful way to live, because in those moments when I do that, wow,
you got to share some of that.
And I felt some of the joy.
Yeah. It sounds super obvious, obviously, to live that way. But it's fascinating to think that more often than not, we choose to not feel that, to not celebrate, and beyond just not celebrating, it's talking down to them about their accomplishments. Like with the friends we were talking about earlier, the people who kind of blow your flame out. How do you feel after you've blown someone's flame out? It sucks. Even when you have a bad day and let's just say you accidentally blew someone's flame out. I know that feeling of being man, I was not what I needed to be there. That just is not a good feeling. That short-term high maybe that made you feel a little bit better about yourself for a tiny second.
Doesn't last.
It just doesn't last. It sucks. And it's to be that person that is literally helping the flames get brighter. I feel like you live differently. You feel good about that. And it's also kind of contagious. It becomes something you look forward to being in people's lives.
Yep. Yeah, because I think you're closer to living out your true purpose when you live like that.
Yeah.
I just think.
Also, sorry.
No, good.
It's easier for people to celebrate you when you are that person for everybody else.
Yes.
I feel like I know people in my life who are just such great celebrators and encouragers that when it's their time to shine, that's all I want to do is make them feel like they're the best thing that, since sliced bread. So I think it comes full circle. When you're that for somebody else, people just want to rally and make you feel that same way that you made them feel. It's just this very, I don't know. I feel like it just rubs off on people.
Yeah. I'll tell you another thing that makes it a lot easier to do that for people is the way that they receive it. So some people, when somebody celebrates you, you're so uncomfortable with your own success and what's happening in your life that you downplay it, which kind of steals a little bit of their joy away, right? So if you're like, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, anybody could have done that. No. In that moment when somebody celebrates you and they protect your flame, I think you should stop, look them in the eyes and say, thank you for being happy for me. Thank you for being happy for me. Because then what you're doing there is you're encouraging, right? The joy that they're trying to share with you. When you cut them off and you downplay it, you're actually robbing them.
I'm pretty bad about that.
You are.
I do that a lot. I do that a lot. But it's just, I don't know actually what that's from. I think to some degree, a lot of people struggle with that, but
sure,
there's definitely I always tell people, don't steal my joy. If I'm giving them something or whatever else, don't steal my joy. And then I think I turn around and do that by not accepting things.
Yeah.
Compliments especially. But
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
that's
hard.
beside the point.
So, bottom line is this: if someone is enjoying something that you wish you were enjoying, or somebody has something that you wish you had, or they got a promotion at work that you wish you would have gotten a promotion at work, practice learning how to say, "Good for him," "Good for her,"
Like, not
"Good for them."
sarcastically. Yes.
No, like
Good
from
for
the heart,
them.
like
Yeah.
good for them. Like I'm glad that happened to them, and share in that joy with them.
Yeah. You're pretty good at that.
I try, but that example I gave of vacations, I feel like that I nail, and then sometimes I don't always nail some of the other transferable moments that I have where I can meet somebody in their joy. But I do I feel like in general I view the world as that there's plenty of wins and success for everybody, and just because somebody gets a win doesn't mean that there's less wins for me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
We've talked about that a lot with certain people in our lives. Like, you can celebrate that they, did whatever. It doesn't mean that there's less room in the world for
Yeah.
you to get
Yep.
a similar win. I think it's a really interesting way to look at that, because it's, for some reason in our minds, we think there's like a finite amount of successes
Yeah.
that can be had.
People think it's this zero-sum game, and life is not a zero-sum game. It's just not. That there is not just one slice of pie in which someone else taking more means that we get less. That's not the way it works. So throwing around encouragement like confetti, I think that's the way to go. And it not only increases the amount of joy you have in life, but it's also going to increase the intimacy you have in the relationships around you.
Yeah. And I think that also goes on the other side of that coin of, if you have people in your life who are not throwing confetti, like, it doesn't mean you have to be like, you're not in my life anymore. But that's like an arm's distance kind of relationship.
Sure.
I think that's super important. I've talked about that before. Sometimes we feel like really guilty about like terminating relationships or friendships, and I don't think that that's always a bad thing. We've talked about that again on past podcasts, but all that to say, like, I've been thinking about it in terms of like me. I need to, be really good about celebrating other people, but if you have people like that in your life, sometimes it's family, and that makes it really hard. I don't have that in my life, but I know that some people do, where you feel like it's family who's kind of like pooping on your parade. And at that point, you really can't push them out of your life, but I do think you can limit the amount that you let them like speak into things. So that is another big part that I would like to encourage you on. It's just, it can be hard.
That's huge. We don't have time to get into this right now, but you just reminded me. I think one of the biggest parenting mistakes I made early on with my kids was not celebrating their wins enough. I was internally very happy for them, but as a parent, there was that part of me, like, I didn't want them to get a big head about stuff or become arrogant. So I was always kind of downplaying it, like, yeah, that was good, but let's remember,
There's more important things.
that's
there's
right. More important things than the win. And there's a lot of people that contributed to that W. It wasn't just, that touchdown you scored.
Yeah.
And I bet at times that kind of felt like, wow, Dad can only see the negative and he doesn't celebrate the positive enough. So I've tried over the past couple of years to really kind of flip-flop that, but I feel like early on, it's like you want to work hard because you want your kids to be humble. I want my all four of my kids to grow up with a sense of humility. And I think for a while I thought that was my job to create that inside of them. I think the reality is I wish I'd encouraged them more and just allowed life in and of itself to teach them the humility,
right?
Because life has a way of doing that.
Absolutely. And when you're a kid, you kind of need to build that foundation of confidence too.
You do.
And before you can even really understand humility. I don't even think I had the capacity to understand humility until I was like, I don't know, in my 20s.
Yeah, let's be honest, we still struggle with that, right?
We still struggle with that, of course. Yeah. But no, I think you're a big time encourager, celebrator for your kids. I think that you made it sound like you're not. And you are, I think they almost have a joke about how much of a like animated cheerleader that you are.
Yeah, well, I flip-flop.
Yeah, you have gone to the other side.
I'm making up for it.
You're making up for it. No, that's really good. Well, I like that. I think it's super practical. It's taking an inventory of your relationships and then also just an inventory of what kind of friend you are, what kind of spouse you are, what kind of, I love the idea of just being that person that makes people's flames brighter. And I think if we all had those in our lives, I mean, goodness, the social media, the crap about that, like it would be such a brighter place. Like you're not feeling like you have to compare because everyone's celebrating you. Like, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of life in that, but.
Yeah, and and social media is another great way to reinforce this. You know, you're going to see people's accomplishments all the time. It's like the primary place you're going to see it. Yeah. It just takes 10 seconds, to leave them a quick note or a DM if you don't want to leave a comment, just something. And, if you find yourself right now as you're listening to this thinking about some key moments recently where you felt like you had some wins or some accomplishments and nobody was around you to celebrate those, share that with us. Like we'll celebrate you. Like shoot us an email. We want to celebrate with you. Whatever wins you're having, accomplishments you're having, we're proud of you. And I know that every one of you listening to this right now, like you have a bright flame and we want to help you protect that. Yeah. Like we're excited for you.
Yeah. It's such a freeing thing to like let go of jealousy too. Like I think about, I had somebody challenge, not somebody, I saw it on like an Instagram page, but it was basically like, think of the one person that you're like most jealous of, and it could be something, it doesn't have to be like a humongous big jealousy, but like if you're scrolling on your feed and you see something and you're like, oh man, look at that one, they're winning again. Oh, they just got pregnant again. Or look, she just got that dream job that she's always wanted that I want, but it challenged the people reading it, like go to that person's picture and comment and say, congratulations, that's awesome. And ever since then, if there's ever something that kind of struck me as like, oh, I kind of wish I had that, I would comment on it and be like, that's so awesome. And then that is gone. That feeling is gone. It's bizarre. It's like I become free of that jealousy. And I also am open to like, that could be me one day. Maybe that's not. Right. But I love that practical, like, do that today. Like the one person that you see that you kind of just want to be like, ugh, also, I don't think you should follow people that you're like, ugh. But at the same time, like if there is a something that they do that you're jealous of, just comment on it and be like, that's amazing. And just literally feel how that comes off of your back. It's wild. Yeah.
The quickest way to douse comparison is to celebrate. It's really hard to be envious of somebody that you're celebrating.
Yep. That's good. Sorry, I kind of went on another little rabbit trail, but really good stuff. Super practical. I needed that.
I hope it was helpful. I haven't been able to, I always feel like when there's an idea, a principle, something that I just can't shake, that it keeps hanging with me, that it's like I need to hold on to it until I've learned what I need to learn. Yeah. And I've kind of been holding on to that one lately, thinking, there's more, I can do better in that area. I want to continue to grow in that area. And
that's good. I really like it. It's practical and it's something that like anyone and everyone, we all need that reminder. It's not like a super isolating topic, but share this with people. If you know someone struggling with this kind of stuff, that's always super helpful. Subscribe, do all the things. I know we've talked about this in the last few podcasts, but we started a vlog. We are now on this Sunday, I think will be like our 5th one. I don't know.
Wow, I feel like we've been doing it for 2 years.
I know, y'all. Vlogging is no joke.
It's a lot of work.
Who knows how long we'll be doing this, but it is a lot of work. But if you're interested in our recent trip to one of the largest gas stations in the world, we went to Buc-ee's. Gosh. We recorded that. Pete may or may not have purchased a onesie and walked around in the gas station. So that was hysterical.
I've worn it several times since that day.
You have, and completely unsolicited. You did that apparently it's comfortable. I don't know.
It's very comfortable.
Apparently it's comfortable.
Warm and
cozy, big beaver suit. So check that out. If you don't follow us on YouTube, head over there. It's With the Wilsons. If you just search that, With the Wilsons, that should pop up and you can subscribe to the channel and see all those videos there. So we're having a lot of fun.
And can I say one more thing? Because you talked about sharing this podcast. Yeah. My encouragement to be even more specific would be actually share this one with the 1 or 2 or 3 people in your life who have been a protector of your flame, as a way of just saying, hey, thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you that you've been that person for me that at times cupped your hands around my flame and helped protect that and celebrate me and celebrate what God's been doing through me in my life.
It's good. Really good. I can already think of the people in my head.
Boom.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pete Wilson.
You're welcome, Miss Jordyn Wilson.
That was another
Good talk.